Okay, we're going to get started, so I'd like everyone's attention. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Glad you could all make it today. My name's Miss Kim. My husband, Mr. Dave, and I own and operate the Broken Horn D Ranch out in Williamson Valley, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about ranching in Arizona. A couple of things I wanted to mention about ranching before we get started is there's a lot of etiquette in ranching. We call each other Mr. and Mrs. or Mr. and Miss out of respect. We don't walk in front of people, which makes grocery shopping really difficult for me. We don't ride in front of someone if we're out working cattle. We go behind them. The young men that work for us on our ranch, they're always fighting over who gets to open the gate for me. It's really kind of nice. So I just think that's kind of interesting. So our ranch is similar to a lot of ranches in Arizona, but it's also very unique. And we'll talk about the different aspects of that as we go through. So you'll have to bear with me because I have to walk down here to click the slides. And sometimes I can't do it with my left hand. Anybody else have that problem? Okay, what is a ranch? Typically in the West, we call a ranch an area where cattle are typically raised. There are farms here also, which typically raise crops like maybe corn and sorghum or beans or soybeans or something. And farms also can raise animals like cows, pigs, sheep, and goats. But in the West, a ranch is typically where cattle are raised. So we're going to do a little bit of terminology. You guys probably all know this because I know you're very smart. But a cow is an adult female bovine.
Is that you?
That is me, yes, believe it or not, when I'm cleaned up. So this is actually one of our mother cows with her calf from last winter. And most all the pictures you see in this slideshow are actually on my ranch. So the cow is a mother cow, a mother bovine, an adult female. The bull is the male. That's my husband, Dave. Isn't he cute?
No.
No? Okay. A calf, the calf is a baby cow that's still nursing its mother, and you can have a girl calf or a boy calf. You have a heifer calf or a bull calf. But when we talk about a calf, that's a baby that's still nursing its mother. And then a heifer is a young girl cow that has not had a baby yet. So you all would be heifers, because you're not nursing your mom and you haven't had babies yet. So you're all heifers and bulls, just in case there's a test later. All right. This thing does not like me. There we go. A steer, this is a 2-year-old steer, is a castrated male. So he can't breed anymore, and these are typically what we raise for beef because they spend more energy getting big than trying to breed cows and make more calves. And I think this steer has a really interesting coat pattern. You kind of see little raised areas on his rib cage, almost looks like a giraffe. I think he'll make a really nice rug.
Why would you make it
Okay, so there are different types of cattle operations. These statistics are from the Department of Agriculture. They do a census every 10 years. 82%, or most of the cattle operations in the United States, are what we call cow-calf. Means they have a bunch of cows and they raise babies till they're 8, 10, 12 months old, and then they wean them, and then they're sold usually to what we call a stocker feeder operation. And that's an operation that grows up the cattle for the next year of their life. And this is a picture of some steers on our ranch grazing in the irrigated pasture. So feedlots, which most people are pretty surprised at the statistics, feedlots only make up 2.9% of the cattle operations in the United States. And if you've ever driven through Texas or Nebraska or Oklahoma, you see a lot of these along the freeway, but it's a very small part of the cow industry. And this is where the cows are fed for the last 4 to 6 months before they're harvested for beef. And the dairy is kind of an aside here, but only 6% of all the cattle operations in the United States are dairies. and that's cows, different types of cows that produce milk for milk, cheese, cottage cheese, yogurt, and ice cream. This, I think, this is a really boring slide. I apologize, but very interesting. In the state of Arizona, you guys have been studying quite a bit, I'm sure, about Arizona. Only 18% of all the land in our whole entire state can be owned by people, what we call deeded land or private land. So land that maybe your family owns, your grandma, your grandpa, your aunt and uncle, neighbors, whatever. 82% of the land in the whole state is either national forest, Indian reservation, state trust land, or BLM land. So there's a whole lot. The majority of our state is what we call public lands. And this will come into play later when we talk about grazing and using the land. This thing just doesn't like wherever I click.
Oh no.
Come on. There we go. All right, now some fun stuff. We're going to talk about the clothes and equipment that we wear. So we always wear long sleeve shirts and long sleeve pants. How many of you guys have hiked in Arizona? Cool, very good. So most of the plants in our state are pretty prickly, right? I mean, everything seems to bite or poke you. So we wear long sleeve shirts and pants to protect our skin from the brush in the bushes and also from the sun. We wear a cowboy hat for the same reason. Keeps the sun off our face, helps you to see, up across the hills where the cows might be. We wear protective leggings. I have on what's called chinks. These are kind of a short version. My husband wears chaps, which are longer. And I'm going to pass these around. You're going to be amazed how heavy they are. But the chaps and the chinks protect your legs when you're riding through really rough, brushy country where there's cactus or like oak brush and chaparral that's pretty hard to ride through. So these protect your legs. They're also handy in the winter when it's cold and not so nice in the summer when it's hot. So in the pocket of the chaps, my husband always has wire cutters because you never know when you might have to fix a fence. I'm going to leave those out because they'll fall on someone's toe. He also carries, anybody know what this is? A saw. Yeah, it's a handsaw. Believe it or not, we don't always have a lot of trees in the way, but occasionally there's a tree down on a fence or a tree down over a trail that the cow can maybe go under, but I can't go through because I'm taller being on my horse. So this comes in really handy to have to, sometimes we have to cut stuff. So the other thing we always carry is a pocket knife, which I can't always get out of my pocket. And this is handy if you ever get in a wreck where you've got a rope involved and you have to cut the rope to save someone's thumb or leg or body. So we always carry a pocket knife. My husband also carries a revolver in his chap pocket, which I did not bring in here today, because you never know if you have to kill a snake or a mountain lion or a bad guy. Just kidding. So, no bad guys. So I want to pass these around so you can feel how heavy they are. Just pass them around. So we're going to look at the equipment on the horse real quick. Any of you guys ride? All right, cool. Phew. So we obviously have a Western saddle on this horse. It has a horn for dallying the rope. Nice thick saddle pad. Interesting feature here, these are called tapaderos, which is a leather covering over the stirrup to protect your boots when you're going through the rough, brushy country. The horse has a breast collar on to keep the saddle from going out the back end if you're going up really steep hills. And you can see Dave's got his rope coiled on his saddle there. And then we're going to try to get the computer to cooperate. All right. So a couple other things we use is the rope. I'm going to pass these around too because they're really fun. These coil like a spring. Do you ever take a ballpoint pen apart and play with the spring? Yeah. So these coil like a spring. So they only go a certain way. And then this is the rope zone here where we I missed him. He got away. So we use this primarily to rope calves when we brand them, and I'll have some pictures of that here in a minute. Or if we have to rope a cow or a bull to doctor them, we use the rope. It's also handy if there's a... so other chores we do in the winter, especially when we have snow, is we have to put hay out for the cows, because a cow has a cloven hoof, which means it has two pieces. So when they're digging in the snow, it's hard for them to dig through the snow to get to the dry grass. So you can see in that bottom picture, we put hay out for them to eat. The top picture is one of our tractors, and those are big round bales of hay strapped on there where we have to drive long distances to the pasture to keep the cows fed when the weather's bad. Some other chores we do in the winter is put out salt and protein. This is one of our water drinkers. And this is an axe on the bottom of the picture. We actually have to break the ice with an axe and then fish it out with the manure fork so that the cows have fresh water to drink. And when we have consecutive days of really cold weather, I have to go around and do this in 4,500 acres of pastures, and there's about 30 of these. Takes all day. So April 15th, for most adults, that's tax day. For us, that's the day we put our bulls out. All of our bulls live in a pasture together for the winter, and April 15th, we gather them all up and we take them to their different pastures where they have their herd of cows to breed. We put them out on a specific date so that like 9 months later is when the calves start coming. So then end of May, we start our branding season, and this is gathering the calves that would have been born in January, February, and March. We gather the pairs. The mamas and the babies is called a pair. We gather them and push them into a corral. Here's another picture. This is over in Crossroads Ranch, where we push them into the corrals. That's Dave and me, Jennifer, Brian, and Charlie. There's Dave looking at the cows and the calves. This is a time when we evaluate them. Are they carrying good weight? Are they too thin? As the cows get older, it's like, your grandma having a baby. It's a little hard on them. So we evaluate the animals and decide, maybe when we wean this calf in the fall, we might have to cull this cow. So once we get all the cows and the calves in there, and we count them, we make sure we have everybody, then we sort back a few cows so that all we leave in the branding pen is all the babies, and you can see there's 3 cows in there. So these are kind of like chaperones, just like you guys have chaperones that are trying to keep you under control. Trying being the operative word. So we leave 3 cows in here to keep the calves calm and comfortable. And then that's me riding in there, swinging my rope. And what I'm going to try to do is catch a calf by its back feet. And then we drag it out of the herd to the branding fire. So the branding fire would be up here somewhere. And then we've got lots of people on the ground because everybody that we know wants to always come and help, at least once. So these guys, as the calf gets pulled out of the herd, they're going to mug it. Come on. Where they hold it down on the ground. So the one guy in the ball cap, he's got the front leg bent up really tight, just like you would take a person and pull their arm back here. We bend their front leg. The guy in the striped shirt, he's sitting down. He's got his foot pushed against the down leg of the calf, and he's pulling the up leg towards himself. And he's got to really hang on so he doesn't get his teeth kicked out. And then Dave's putting the brand on the calf's hip, and Kendall is standing there with a red ear tagger, and she's going to put an ear tag like this in the calf's left ear. So all of our cows' calves, get a numeric tag in their ear, and we keep track of when they were born, who their parents are, when they got vaccinated, castrated, wormed, all that sort of stuff. We track them all the way through. So they get the ear tag and the brand, and they get a couple of vaccinations. So here's another good picture of the ground crew branding and ear tagging. So you see the guy on the ground, he's pushing the one leg away, holding the other leg forward. One guy in the ball cap's got the front leg, the other guy's doing the ear tag. And you can see the hair on fire with the branding iron. So once all the calves are branded, we let them back in with their mamas, and the calves are going to run over and go, Mom, they stuck this thing on my butt, and they stuck an earring in my ear, and I need a drink of milk. And so they'll do what we call pairing up. They pair up with their mom, and then Dave and I are there with our little tally books, and we're writing down, okay, calf number 795, he's nursing off 85, so that's his mom. And calf number 796 is nursing off 79, that's his mom. And we keep track of all that. Drives my husband nuts, but I like to keep good records. So some other things we do on our ranch in the summer is make hay. This is where we grow the grass. We cut it, we let it dry in the sun like a raisin does, and then we bale it up. And this is what we feed our horses and our cows through the winter or whenever it doesn't rain and there's no grass growing like right now. So if anybody wants a job driving a tractor, just come see me. So we cut the hay down, and it gets about this tall, and we cut it off at the bottom. It just lays down. We don't grind it up in little bits like your lawn. We let it dry, and then we rake it and make those square bales for the horses because they're easier to handle. We make these big round bales that are like a half a ton apiece to feed the cows in the winter. I like to use the round bales because you can use the tractor. It has a big spike on the front to pick them up and put them on the trailer and move them around. Here's a stack of 250 square bales. We probably make 5,000 square bales, and I don't know even how many, hundreds and hundreds of round bales. Lots of hay. Lots of hay. So then in the fall, this is usually early October, is what we call fall works. We just did, well, it's been a month now, actually. Time flies. So we're gathering all the cows and calves again, and we're going to wean them now, which means we take them away from their mom, and it's time for them to grow up. So we gather them all, and you can see Dave and Charlie are counting them through the gate there to make sure we got everything, and I'm just sitting there. Counting is something cowboys do out of habit. I mean, you just count how many horses are in the pasture, how many cows are over there, how many, just because. Anyway, so these are a couple of weaned calves. They're, I can tell by the size of their head, the size of their horns. You can see they've all got a yellow ear tag, and they're eating some hay, and they're like happy to be on their own. So this is a beef steer. He's probably 2.5 years old. This would have been just before he goes to harvest. So what makes our operation different, we talked earlier about cow, calf, stocker, feeder, feedlot, our operation does all of that and then some. We have cow herds, we raise the babies, we wean them, we keep them, we feed them in different herds split by sex and age until they're 2.5, 3 years old, and then we harvest them for beef. All right, so in rough country, which is most of Arizona, most of the public land in Arizona is very rugged. It's very hilly, very rough, lots of rocks, lots of brush, bushes. So the best way to get around is on a horse or a mule, but most of us use horses. They're more sure-footed. They can go places you can't go with a quad or a side-by-side. They're quiet. There's no motor noise, no engine noise. They don't bother wildlife or livestock because they're another animal. And when I'm sitting on a horse, I'm probably 8 or 9 feet tall, so I can see way better than if I were on the ground. I can see, oh, there's a cow on the other side of that bush, or there's something on the other side of those rocks. And horses are prey animals. They have their eyes on the side of their head, and they don't have canine teeth. It means something else eats them. They don't eat other animals. Mountain lions have their eyes on the front of their head, and they have canine teeth. Mountain lions eat animals like this, like deer, horses, whatever. So the horse, because he's a prey animal, he's watching for predators. And he's going to help me find my cows because he's going to see movement on those hillsides. It might be a deer, it might be a mountain lion, but it might be a cow too. So that's why we use cows for getting around. Or, I'm sorry, horses for getting around. Some other benefits of grazing. Let me go back real quick because one more point I wanted to make here. In this rough country, you see how hilly it is. It's hard to tell how rocky it is, but under the bushes there's rocks. Do you think tomatoes would grow well there? No. Or sweet corn, watermelons, grapes? No. So much of Arizona's public land is like this. There's no water, there's poor soil, it's very rough and rocky. So the best way to harvest it is to let a cow eat it. The cow can turn that plant cellulose into a protein that we can eat. So it's a really good utilization of some of our public land. So the cow can harvest that food. They also keep the brush cleared up to reduce fire hazard. They fertilize the ground with their manure. They aerate the ground with their hooves. So they're all around pretty good for the environment. So another benefit of grazing, in a lot of our pastures, if we didn't put out water for the cows, there wouldn't be any water there at all. We have some pastures that when we acquired them, there was no wildlife there at all. It was weird to ride around because you didn't see any deer or antelope or elk, no rabbits, no birds, no nothing, because there was no water. Everything needs water to stay alive. So the top picture there on the left is a solar panel that runs a well that fills that drinker. And you see it's overflowed a little bit, so not only can big animals drink out of the tank, but everything from mice and squirrels and chipmunks and rabbits and skunks and javelina and whatever can drink whatever spilled over. So then the wildlife have water. These other two pictures are not on our ranch, but this is a dirt tank or a catchment where a depression in the ground where water would accumulate has been dug out, and that will hold water for the cows and wildlife, deer, elk, antelope, all that. This other picture, who knows what that is? Windmill, yes, very good, windmill. So the wind turns those blades, which runs this pump up and down to the pipe up and down to the pump in the ground, which pumps water into the storage and then into the drinker. And these are Bramer cattle. It's hard to tell in this picture, but they got really long ears and a big hump. They're very well adapted to hot climate as well, because they have big ears to help. Like a jackrabbit has big ears. That helps them to cool. Okay, so as I said earlier, our operation's a little bit different than some because we are what we call full spectrum. We raise the babies, we grow them up, we slaughter them for beef, and we sell the meat. On my way here, I took 300 pounds of cuts like this to the Honeyman store. And put it in their freezer. So that's a chuck roast, a burger, and porterhouse steaks, and then pictures of our cuts. So we actually, like I said, we raise the babies, grow them up, finish them out, and then we sell the beef direct to you guys or your mom or your grandma. Most ranches do one or two of those operations, but we're just gluttons for punishment. So some interesting facts on cattle. You know, we think of cattle for beef, right? Maybe bones, maybe some fat, tallow. But 60% of the animal is something that we eat. The other 40% is all this other stuff. And it's a little bit hard to read, but I can probably help you with that. So over here on the right, this is all the stuff they use the fat for. The fat from the cow. Some of this is interesting. Chewing gum, candles, detergents, fabric softener, deodorant, who knew, right? Creams and lotions, crayons, paint, oils and lubricants, plastics, cement, ceramics, chalk. You use that in school, right? Do you still use chalk in school? No? I'm really old, sorry. Explosives, fireworks, matches, fertilizer, antifreeze, insulation, linoleum, rubber, textiles, and medicine. I mean, it's all used. The leather is used for like soccer balls and baseballs, clothes, shoes, leather interiors in your vehicles, all kinds of stuff. Okay, we're almost there. Almost there. So, local people growing food for you. I know everybody thinks you just go down to Safeway or Fry's or Walmart and get your food. But there's a lot of local people right here in Yavapai County raising food directly for you. That's Whipstone Farms up there on the left. This is Aguiar Farms, some of their products. They're out in Paulden. They sell at the farmer's market. There's a bunch of local producers that sell or that grow food right here in our county for you to eat. So this is my favorite motto is eat beef. The West wasn't won on salad. Thank you.
Salad. Salad's better for you.
Okay. I think we have a couple of minutes if we have any questions. Serious questions. Yes, Sedona.
What if the cows like pass away when you didn't know?
It doesn't usually happen. So she asked what happens if a cow dies and we don't know about it. We ride through our pastures on a regular basis, even though they're pretty remote. And if we're missing one, we go to find her, because sometimes they've gone through a hole in the fence and gone to the neighbors. We did have a pair, a mom and a baby, get hit by lightning this summer. We found them just boop, tipped right over. Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. And all of our cows, because we raise criollo cattle, they all have horns, even the girls. And the mamas use those to protect their babies from the predators. So we don't have too much problem with death loss. Yes?
What was possibly the worst ever thing that you had to do as a cow? Like in the whole entire thing that you were doing in like from beginning to school?
The worst thing?
Yeah.
Well, the thing I don't like to have to do is what we call euthanasia, where you have to put them to sleep because they've gotten injured or hurt or really, really sick and they're not going to live. That's kind of sad.
Use a tranquilizer. Wait, I want to look at the thing that you did.
Yes.
I was in the bathroom, so what did I miss?
Oh, I don't know, because I don't know when you came back. I'm sorry. Yes.
What happens if one of your neighbors accidentally takes one of your cows?
Usually they bring it back because that's why we have the brand on them, so they know. Yes, sir. Our meat is available at both Honeyman stores, Prescott and Prescott Valley, and then I set up a pop-up market in the Tractor Supply parking lot on Saturday morning. Yeah. And we also sell, like if somebody wanted a half a beef or a whole beef to put in their freezer, we do that too. Yes?
What if the cow gets
We haven't had that happen.
I have another question.
Oops, sorry. Yes?
Why do cowboys wear belts?
Why do we wear belts? To keep our pants up. We wear belts primarily to keep our pants up, but in a pinch, I whip this thing off and now I can get a dog collar, I can get my horse caught, I can do a lot of stuff with it.
Hey, stop talking, guys, and listen.
Except put it back on. Okay, way in the back in the turquoise shirt. That's a great question. I forgot to mention that. In our part of Arizona, like right around here, what we call the carrying capacity, which is how much land it takes for a cow to live on, takes 91 acres. So that would be like 91 of the plazas out there for one cow for 1 year, if it rains. Because we don't get a lot of rain here, we don't have a lot of grass. In the Midwest, where they have more rain and more grass, they can put more cows per acre. But it's 91 acres per cow in our part of Yavapai County. Let's get somebody else.
How often do the cows die?
Well, cows will live to be into their 20s. We let ours start having babies when they're 3, so they're adults. They're not, like your age or your, junior high. They'll live to be close to 20, but by the time the cows are in their mid to late teens, their teeth are wore out. Their teeth are only about this long in their head, and they continually erupt as they wear down, unlike our teeth. And they get to be what we call gummers when they're 15, 16, 17. There's not much left of their molars to chew their food, so they can't keep their weight up. So what we do on our ranch is we grind those cows for pet food, and then we sell pet food for dogs and cats, turtles, whatever. Yeah, take the whole thing, grind it for pet food. Other ranches sell them as what we call a cull cow, C-U-L-L, and they end up in pet food or cheap beef products like beef stew and beef soup and that kind of stuff. So they don't just leave them out there. They don't just put them to sleep. They actually use that meat for something, whether it's animal food or people food.
One more question.
One more. Okay.
I was going to ask you, where is your place going to be at? In the last stop?
It's in Williamson Valley. So you guys are in Chino, right?
Yes.
So due west of you guys about 20 miles. So same kind of elevation and all. Okay? There's so many questions, Pam.
Wonderful. We'd love to see that because they're so interesting.
It's great.
I'm
Yeah.
not the bus driver, so don't blame me.
So they have to get on the bus? All right. Well, thank you all. I appreciate you coming. Remember to eat beef.
I